Hey guys, it's Willow and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I thought I'd switch to doing some digital art, and this wasn't originally going to be a video, it was just me doing a random digital drawing, but I ended up liking it, so I thought I could share with you guys the speed paint and talk about my process. So the first thing I started with was the sketch, obviously, and I used a brush which was called Pencil, I think. And I'm doing this on ibisPaint, by the way, the free version. So I made my sketch pink because that way I can use it as line art instead of having black, really harsh line art. And it also just kind of saves time, so I don't have to do an extra layer. I can just use this refined sketch and then get started with the colouring. So I used a brush called Fade Watercolour, and I just was kind of building up the colours in the way that I would with real watercolours. So for her skin, I started with a light peach colour, and then I brought in some pinks for the blush in some areas and some purple where there'd be some shadows. And then I got started with the hair and did the same thing. I laid a flat colour down, which was like this very light blonde, and then I brought in some darker yellows and some light purples, and I put them where there would be more shadows. I think it's important to leave some spaces with just the base colour and to really show how much the light is bouncing off from those places. So I did that for sort of the middle section of her fringe. Again, the shadows weren't too deep yet because I was just trying to get some flat colours laid down. And then I created another layer where I did some more harsher lighting and used a purple semi-transparent brush. And I experimented with the blending modes a bit. So I just went through all of them until I was happy, and I ended up going for this one called Luminosity, I think. It turned the plain purple into like a bunch of different colours based on what was underneath it, which I thought was pretty cool because just the purple looked a bit out of place, so this was a bit more natural, I think. Okay, well maybe not natural, but I just think it looked nicer basically. And it brought out some different hues in her face, which I think definitely helped in making the skin look more lively. Here is the reference I used, by the way, and I know my drawing doesn't really look similar to it at all, but I just used it to help with the like posing and stuff. This drawing doesn't really look like my usual style, it's more of my semi-realistic style, and in the beginning that's what I was going for anyway. I wanted it to be more of a like digital painting, and I'm really pleased with the way I coloured this and made it look a bit more expressive than my usual character drawings. One of my biggest tips for if you're just starting out with digital art would be not to only rely on using the airbrush for shading. Obviously it's a good brush and there are definitely times where it can be really useful, but try experimenting with the different watercolour and like paint brushes, and also just like your average pen brush, because sometimes using them at like 70% opacity along with a blending mode can create a really cool look. And also try not to just go for the darker version of whatever colour you're using. You can also use colours like purple and pink and orange, or like blue if you're doing a cooler tone drawing, to make your drawing look more lively. As you can see, another thing I did to spice up this artwork was duplicate my line art layer, change it to a turquoise colour, and then use the transform tool to move it over to the left slightly. And then this created a glitchy kind of look, and I think it added some much needed cooler tones into the drawing. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do for the background. Originally I went for drawing some pink, purple and blue splodges and then smudging and blurring them together, but the colours kind of got muddy and I thought it was kind of boring. Even though now looking back at it, it wasn't actually that bad. But I tried adding some screen tones, but I didn't like those either. For those of you who don't know, screen tones are basically like patterns you can add that are like pre-made, like grids and dots and stuff. So I just played around with the opacity of it, and it kind of ended up looking like cotton candy kind of. And then I used a sequin brush, and it kind of ended up looking like snow, so I went along with that and went for like a magical winter wonderland vibe. And then this is the final result I ended up with, but then I came back to the drawing like a day later and I realised that I thought all the sparkles were kind of taking away from the original drawing, which I actually don't think now. I think it looks fine, but I got rid of them all and decided to start again, and this time I just used them on her hair, and I also changed the background so that it was just pink, which again I found boring, so I used a brush called Real Watercolour, I think, and set it to a darker pink colour and added some clouds in the background kind of. I know you can't see this right now, but you'll see in a sec. And also I made the line art, the pink line art, darker to bring out the pink tones more, and I think the finished result was more Valentine's themed in the end, and I think it ended up looking really cute. So before I show the finished result, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and maybe picked up a few tips from it. I know it wasn't the most instructional video ever, but I hope that you like how the finished piece turned out, and don't forget to comment and like the video if you did. I'll hopefully see you all soon. Bye!